Hello, everyone. My name is Lindsay O'Neill, and I teach History 395, Sex and the City, Constructing Gender in London, 1700 and 1900. Now, there's two things to know about this course straight off. Because it is funded partly by the History Department, it is only open to majors within the Department of History. Furthermore, unlike other Maymesters, it meets during the spring semester. So it meets half-time once a week for an hour and 20 minutes throughout the semester, and then travels to London for a week after graduation. Now, while we're in class, we read a multitude of different texts. So we read about what people kept in their houses and how they thought about home. We read about the textiles and tokens that people left with foundling children, basically orphans whose parents couldn't and the children of parents who couldn't support them. We read about the rise of shopping. We read about the phenomenon of Jack the Ripper and prostitution in England during this period. We look at ideas about masculinity and the place of men. And we look at the place of enslaved men and women in London at the time. And all of these different texts are to help us understand how gender was structured and changing between 1700 and 1900, and also to get us to think about how understanding those past structures of power help us understand those today, and how those structures of authority impress themselves on everyday objects. And so when we go to London, we go to see things to highlight what we have learned in the course. So we go to museums to see the paintings and the objects themselves. Often we're able to dress in the clothing of the period to get a sense of what that really felt like. We go and visit the homes of people to see how they're actually structured and how the objects are laid out. We indulge in a number of culinary experiences, having afternoon tea and going to a chop house where bachelors would get their food. And we also leave London itself and go and visit Eton College, which is a all men's college or an all boys college, where we get a tour and where we get a seminar taught by one of the teachers there. And finally, we don't ignore the darker side of the story and the experiences of those lower down on the social scale. We walk in the steps of the prostitutes and women killed by Jack the Ripper, and we visit the foundling hospital itself, where parents who couldn't support their children often had to leave them. And so the hope is for this class to leave with an understanding of the structures that undergird gender roles during the period and how they changed, and to reflect on how that impacts the way we view these things in the present.